I'm in Toronto. Couple things. Heading down to visit some trans people in nearby Kitchener and London today, do some advocacy work. Also got some family up here I haven't seen in a while, so... Oh, not at this time. My knee's a mess and I've gained a bunch of weight, so we're training to do 5Ks these days. Yeah, getting older's not... Oh my, indeed it does. Less than a minute? Okay. Sure. Beautiful. Good morning everyone, Jennifer McCreath. 6:40 a.m. Toronto time, 8:10 Newfoundland time. Gonna talk with K-Rock today. It was June 3rd, I said that right. Talk a little bit about Caitlyn Jenner and a little bit about this joke they played on Caitlyn yesterday with regarding to suggesting that she used a saw for SRS. Trying to smooth things out here. K-Rock are actually good people, and here we go. Yeah, that was a couple years ago. We had a little prank played, I think, on one of your colleagues there. But wow, it's early morning out here. I'm actually up in Ontario this morning, so thanks for the wake-up call. I'm doing a little transgender activism. It's Pride Week up here in parts of Ontario, and I'm driving down to nearby Kitchener, Waterloo, and London. A couple of the big cities here that feel drowned out by Toronto sometimes, so they're looking for some allies and some friends, and ultimately I'm hoping to create some alliances. A lot of the transgender movements are so localized that we don't realize there's many other people across the country that have already fought some of these battles, and we can learn a lot from just meeting them and picking their brain. Yeah, and I think it's very good of you folks to put someone like me on, and as I heard in your preamble, it's good to talk about things. I offend people on a regular basis without even trying, so that's just part of, I guess, being a public figure and talking about these so-called touchy subjects. I hate taboo subjects. I like to talk about them, and I think that's the best way to get people to become educated on issues. I would like to think there is. There seems to be a lot of double standards in society where people within an internal circle are more allowed to poke fun at themselves than those they perceive to be outside. I think I agree with a lot of those comments, and those people raised a lot of valid points about, I guess, the seriousness of this nature. And perhaps what a lot of your listeners might not be familiar with is you folks there at K-Rock actually are good, strong trans allies. I know we've worked together, we've had some fun, and if people realize that you really know what you're talking about, and I guess the issue here is, was this an ignorant statement or was this a joke? And I think when you're dealing with celebrities, especially in Kardashian land, no matter which one you're talking about, there's got to be some room for some humor. I mean, believe me, over the years I've told a lot of sausage and wiener jokes and things like that with some of my other trans women friends. But yeah, I guess at the same time, it is a sensitive topic, and I guess trans people want to know that they're understood. And obviously transgender issues is not just about what's between your legs. There's so much more in that, and the specifics of the types of surgeries that we can have are actually, there's a lot of gatekeeping to get through there. There's a lot of money involved. There's a lot of doctors that won't help us. So I guess from both angles, I can understand why some people are upset. At the same time, I don't want you folks to feel gun shy, and people like myself or Caitlyn Jenner, when we put ourselves out there in the media, we're opening ourselves up for both praise and criticism. Yeah, sure, because I missed it obviously this morning. Yeah, okay. And I think there's, again, I go back to the issue where there's a lot of sensitivity around access to surgery, a lot of sensitivity around, a lot of trans people will not have the surgery, and they're not any less trans, and I guess that's perhaps part of the concern. I mean, sure, I can accept and understand when people are making jokes. Usually I laugh, sometimes I don't. Heck, I've been offended by a lot of things over the years, and other people tell me to chill out and cool down. But I guess the context is the real issue here, and yeah, I mean, I can understand. I guess both sides. I can understand how that would offend people. At the same time, I can understand that this is a rock radio station, and part of what you do is comedy and humor in between. And I mean, sure, part of me would laugh at that, where perhaps part of me would also say, well, if someone's going to make a joke like that, let's make sure that they're also aware and educated on the situation. No, and I think so. There are a variety of sources out there all over the world that have put out media guides. Bottom line, I don't think there's any real one set of rules, and that's perhaps part of the challenge. You could interview 10 different trans people and they're all going to give you completely different answers about what's acceptable, what does even the term trans mean, transgender, transsexual, and I think that's part of the problem. And I think that's partially why I think it's important that I'm traveling around meeting other trans people. It's like we all got to get on the same page. People want to support us, but they don't necessarily know how, and they don't necessarily have all the tools they need. And the last thing we want is to alienate potential allies because they accidentally step on eggs and break one. I think so, absolutely. Communication and education. I know that the education system's got a lot of work to do with this. I mean, I went from K to 12 and quite a while ago, but never learned a darn thing about this, and took several years of university and didn't learn anything about this either. And but yeah, the only way we're going to get people to reach an understanding is to keep talking about the issues. And I think we've come a long way from where they are still down in some of the southern states, where trans people are still considered freaks and mentally ill and Jerry Springer guests. But I think we've seen a lot of positive news stories about trans people. I'm really excited. In the 8 years I've lived in St. John's, I went from being kind of the only out trans person to just one of many, and it's great to see, especially the younger folks are thriving. Heck, I've had my challenges finding good quality employment and face some discrimination with the healthcare system, but I think we're continuing to move in the right direction, and we're seeing a much more, not just with trans, but St. John's and Newfoundland is becoming a lot more diverse, and we're seeing a lot of different people, and we're all doing our best to work together, get to know each other, get along, and I think that just having a conversation about this is perfect, and I hope your listeners who are intrigued will go out there and maybe do a little Googling, do a little research on trans issues. I'm not hard to find. I'm all over Twitter, jennifermccreath.com, and if people have any questions about, I guess, the specifics of transition or what I've gone through, I'm quite happy to tell my story. Yeah, well, I'm glad to do it, and I think one last thought on Jenner is there's a positive opportunity here. We've got a well-known trans person who's now out as trans, who's got history as a mainstream celebrity. Also, for me, as an athlete, it's great to see an athlete, even though they won their gold medal many, many, many years ago. Sports is one industry that's still very, I guess, tough in terms of struggling to deal with trans athletes and things like that. So I'm hoping that Jenner's transition will open a lot of doors to a lot of great conversations. Yes, it was. I'll never forget that. Alrighty. Thanks so much. Bye. That went well. Excellent. Yeah, SoundCloud would be great. I will. Thank you so much. Alrighty, take care. Bye. How about that? We still recording here? I can't even see if my camera's on. We are. Looks like a nice day out there. Look at the sun. Ooh, my. Etobicoke, Ontario, Canada, where I grew up. Anyway, hi. That was the interview. Now we got one more to do before we get on with our day. Thanks for watching.